Hello and good morning. Welcome to the Turnover NFL podcast. I'm Alex Kerstetter alongside my co-host Kelvin Reisenfeld. Football season is finally among us. Though at times it did not seem likely with COVID, we are just a few hours from the kickoff of the 2020 NFL season, which will be unique in many ways.
Kerstetter, I got to tell you, man, after this long wait, it's finally here. I'm excited, man. I got nothing else to say other than that. I want to get right into it.
All right, to start us off, get the ball rolling, let's talk about some weekly news. Fournette to the Bucs. What does this mean to the Bucs and their division?
Hey, the Bucs now have a pretty powerhouse offense by the looks of it. You got Rob Gronkowski is going to be a big question this year. Leonard Fournette got a new addition. Mike Evans, Carlos Godwin, it's going to be big additions. And who's at the helm? Tom Brady as the number one quarterback in the league, potentially. We'll see what happens.
What do you think it means for their season?
I mean, compared to last season, I think they're going to be an exponential increase in their wins.
Yeah, I agree with their offense. Their offense was already very pass-heavy. Jameis Winston threw for 5,100 yards. However, their defense ranked bottom 10 in points given up per game at 28.1. Jameis Winston was the only upside other than Mike Evans, who also had a good season. They added Fournette, Gronk, and Brady, like you said, to an already pass-heavy team. So they'll be dangerous, except I think their weak point is their defense. I think that'll let them down. I think it's more attractive to the eyes than reality, and I think they're going to end up going around 9-7. That's my prediction for that.
That's fair. That's very fair.
Moving on to the next weekly news, we've got Jadeveon Clowney signs with the Titans, what this means for them. I think the Titans are one of those teams that has been constantly trending upwards. I think that's a very positive, impactful signing that they just made. It improves their entire defensive line, which already had Harold Landry, Victor Beasley, and Jeffrey Simmons. The signing of Jadeveon Clowney is actually going to relieve pressure off of them, so they're going to get more pressure on quarterbacks. They were top 10 defense last year. They're only improving. I like what I'm seeing from them. I buy it. I got them going probably 10-6, 11-5, and competing against the Texans for the division.
Okay, interesting take. I also like the signing for them. They only had 2.6 sacks per game last season. I think this addition is really going to help on the D-line. I think Derrick Henry is going to be a stud again this season, just like he was last year. Ryan Tannehill still concerns me, definitely, for their season. But, hey, we'll see what happens, right?
Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our season-long predictions. So first off, way too early prediction. Who you got winning the Super Bowl this year?
I'm taking the Baltimore Ravens from the AFC North.
Why?
Baltimore Ravens. I think Lamar Jackson's going to have another big year for them. He's got another year of experience. They got a good, solid defense, good coach. Their offensive line is fantastic. They got J.K. Dobbins along with Mark Ingram now at running back. Their weak point is their wide receivers. So we'll see. Lamar's going to have to throw the ball and make some big plays there.
Hollywood Brown, he should have a breakout year. I'm looking for him to have a breakout year. Myself, the Super Bowl champs, I have the Chiefs. I think it's almost impossible to root against them. They've got Patrick Mahomes, an incredible talent, one of the best talents the NFL's ever seen. He is last year's MVP. He's also my prediction for this year's MVP.
Okay.
I think the Chiefs even improved when they drafted a running back in the first round. I think they're going to be the team to beat. I've got them winning probably 13 games this year.
So you got Patrick Mahomes as your MVP?
Yes, sir.
Confidently?
Yes, I think he's going back-to-back. I think the Chiefs, I think it would be dumb not to root for them. I'm okay with the Ravens, but I think it would be dumb not to bet against them.
I think, my contradictory to that, I think Lamar Jackson could be potential for the MVP for 2 times back-to-back season MVPs. I also think another one that could be thrown up in the air, the Seattle Seahawks were very close to beating the 49ers last year, and they blew it. And on the 2-yard line, they had a false start, pushed them back on 4th down. I think Russell Wilson has a very big potential to be a big player this year.
But they couldn't beat the Packers.
Right.
And I did not think the Packers were that good last year. I thought they were kind of an overrated 13-3 team. Hard to argue 13 wins, but I still thought that the Seahawks should have won that game in the playoffs. So who's your team to watch this year? Who improved for you?
So I based this basically off of wins, and I think I'm going to start right at the bottom, go from the bottom of the pecking order. The Cincinnati Bengals is the most improved team this season. They got the number 1 draft pick, Joe Burrow. We'll see how he does this year. We got an improved offensive line, strong D-line, Geno Atkins and Carlos Dunlap. Sam Hubbard is going to be another big middle linebacker this season. And I think the overall offense in general is going to be solid. I think Joe Mixon has potential to be a top 5 running back this year. A.J. Green, who sat out the entire season last year, is about to have Joe Burrow throwing to him now. And the only weakness I really see with this squad is their secondary on defense.
I would agree with that, though I might not think that the Bengals are going to be the most improved team this year. You might have some bias going right there, but I do think they will be improved. They also improved their defensive front, which is massive overall as a defense. They didn't have a bad defensive unit. It only got better. My team to watch this year is the Cowboys. I based it off a team that didn't live up to expectations last year. They got Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott. That's going to be really the folding point for them to decide how successful they are they able to mesh early and are they able to do it well? Dak threw for 4,900 yards last year. Zeke ran for 1,300. Zeke is consistently a threat in the league. He's always top 5 when he's healthy for rushing yards. He's throwing to Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, Randall Cobb, and the newest signing, CeeDee Lamb out of Oklahoma. And their defense was also top 10 for points given up, rushing yards per game, and passing yards per game. So I've got them blowing out the NFC East.
Out?
I think they'll win 12 games.
Really?
I think the Eagles will win about 8 or 9, so I think they're going to win that division easily.
I think that, along with that, the NFC East is the weakest division in football, in my opinion. It may be competitive, I think, with the top 2 spots, maybe the Eagles and Cowboys. I'm not sold on Dak Prescott. I don't think he's the guy who's going to be able to win many playoff games, if any, at all. You know, he's got a very, very good offensive line in front of him. He's got a great running back. He's got good receivers, and yet somehow they find a way to lose games.
Yeah, that's true. I also am not fully sold on Dak. This is kind of a make or break year for him. He's got the franchise tag on him. Yeah.
Make or break. Yeah, I agree with that.
He could be on his way out if he doesn't have a great season. They could be bringing someone else in ready for a change at the helm. But I think he's going to end up having a consistent year. He's got Mike McCarthy, who worked with Aaron Rodgers for the longest time. Mike McCarthy didn't get the most out of Aaron Rodgers, as other coaches did, but I still think he's a decent offensive coach. I think he's just going to run away with that offense. They've got so many weapons everywhere. Their fourth receiver, CeeDee Lamb, on the depth chart.
That's been a big signee for them, but I feel like who else they haven't really added much more on their offense other than him, have they?
No, but they brought back a lot of offensive line starters.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about their offense.
I think another couple teams I think that would be a good idea to watch this season as well were the Cardinals. I think Kyler Murray in his second year now is going to be very interesting to watch with DeAndre Hopkins, a new signee for them, who's, in my opinion, top 3, if not one of the number 1 guys in the league at wide out.
Can't disagree.
I think, they could have a big season this year. I think they could surprise a lot of people. They got a solid defense. They have a good secondary. We'll see what happens.
But they're also in a very tough division.
Very tough division.
We'll see how they handle that. I agree with you, though. I think they've improved a lot. We'll see how they handle it. They got Kenyon Drake. I think he's a great back.
Yeah.
D-Hop, like you said. Kyler Murray could have a breakout year. We'll see how that goes. Moving on to this week's predictions, Week 1.
Week 1, so NFL season. Let's get into it.
We're going to start Jets versus Bills. What are you thinking?
Bills, I think, are going to be a big AFC contender this year. In my opinion, I think they got the best defense in the league. Tre'Davious White is a great for them in the secondary. Jordan Poyer as well. They got Tremaine Edmonds, who was a rookie last season at linebacker. He's going to be fantastic for them this year. They were really fun to watch. Josh Allen concerns me, obviously, on the offensive side of things. But other than that, I think the Bills are going to be big contenders in the AFC East this year. And I have them blowing out the Jets Week 1.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. I've got them blowing them out. They've got an explosive offense. Josh Allen, though inconsistent, he's got a cannon for an arm.
He gets the job done.
He's got Stephon Diggs he's throwing to now. I think they're going to blow the Jets out of the water. I could see it being a 20-point game, honestly.
Absolutely. I agree.
So we're moving on to Packers versus Vikings. This is going to be one of the games of the week. What are you thinking there?
Yeah, like you just said, game of the week. I think it's going to come down to a final drive. I have the Vikings winning Week 1 over the Packers simply because of the Packers' run defense. They gave up 128 yards per game last year in the rushing department, and I think Dalvin Cook's going to absolutely eat that defensive line up.
They did sign a linebacker in the offseason who is there to fix that issue. However, we will see how they handle that because the rest of the defense hasn't changed too much. I'm taking the Packers. I think Rodgers and Aaron Jones are going to run the show. I think Jones outstanding breakout year last year.
He sure did.
Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. Their receiver core, though, in question, I would say is better than last year's because they all got another year of experience. Devontae Adams is an absolute freak.
Healthy, if he can stay healthy. I think that's going to be the Packers' biggest concern, too, is if Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy all season, along with Devontae Adams.
I would put the deal breaker being if the Packers can stop the Vikings from hitting them. Hitting Rodgers.
Yep. Weak offensive line last season. Everybody knows that. Yeah.
Yeah. So moving on to Eagles versus Washington football team.
I have this as the big upset of the week for me. Now, I'm going out on a limb saying that. I know Washington did not have a strong season last year. They got Chase Young on defensive line now. They got a strong defense. I don't know, just something about this team this year. I think that they could pull off a week 1 upset, and if not, then I think that this first game this season is really going to dictate how their season goes and see how that conference lines up.
I counter that. I think the Eagles are actually going to be Washington. I don't view it being too close. The Eagles got Zach Ertz back. That's Carson Wentz's favorite target.
Yep.
They've improved defensively. They're going into this week the favorites. I'd say the heavy favorites, in my opinion. Washington was not good last year. I don't expect them to be too good this year. I think there's going to be people that take steps in the right direction. For example, I think Dwayne Haskins will definitely take that step to becoming a better quarterback this year, but I do not
just don't see it.
I just can't see him.
Okay.
I'd like to believe it, but I can't.
Let me ask you this. Who do you think's the worst team in the NFL right now? Do you think Washington's up there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
I'd even put Cincinnati in that conversation.
Okay.
But we haven't seen them yet. We'll see how they do. We haven't seen any preseason. We haven't seen anybody meshing with new players.
Exactly. That is another big concern. We have not seen anybody play. No preseason.
Yeah.
This is like we are starting games tonight at 8 o'clock. It's unbelievable. I think the worst team in the NFL this year is going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars.
That's a very...
Unfortunately, but they just got rid of Leonard Fournette. They don't have any offensive stars. Their defense is going to be okay, per usual. I think they're going to be stronger than people think. However, I have them losing to the Colts in Week 1 with the new signee of Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, I also agree with that. Taylor and Mack are going to shred apart the Jags defense. They were averaging over 180 yards per game given up last year on the rushing game. That's going to be a great game for Jonathan Taylor, first game out of Wisconsin, back to the Colts, obviously. He's going to look good that week. I've got the Colts by double digits.
Okay, I agree with that. I say
Yeah.
double-digit win there.
So,
Another big game that I saw when I was going through this the other night is the Seahawks and the Falcons. Do you think that's going to be a big win or a close game?
Seahawks are, I don't know. I don't think that the Seahawks are totally going to blow them out, but I could see them winning by double digits, but by like 2 scores, not necessarily 3, 10 points.
Okay.
I think that Atlanta's very suspect at defense. I think Russell Wilson will exploit that, kind of expose him a bit. And as of right now, last year the Falcons had a terrible rushing attack with Devontae Freeman, who isn't a bad back in my opinion.
No.
And they added Todd Gurley, who is incredibly suspect. You don't know how he's going to be with his knee. You don't know if he's healthy. You don't know if he's going to rush the ball 15 times, 30 times, 10 times.
Had a very weak season last year, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Compared to Todd Gurley, what we've seen, that 2018 season, he was unbelievable, especially during the postseason near the end. I think the Falcons are going to be a team to watch. I don't think they're going to be nearly as bad as they were last year, record-wise. Matt Ryan's got Calvin Ridley to throw to now, as well as Julio Jones, who hopefully can be a little bit more impactful than he was last season. But I think that I got the Seahawks winning Week 1. I'd agree with the double-digit win.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So who are you thinking for Browns versus Ravens? Cleveland's going to Baltimore.
I want to hear your thoughts on this first. I want to see what you have to say.
So last 2 years, the Browns are 2-2 against the Ravens. However, I think the Ravens will just blow them out of the water. I don't think it's going to be close. I think Lamar, Mark Ingram, J.K. Dobbins, I think they're all going to have a day. J.K. Dobbins' first game.
I'm glad you said that. I thought you were about to pull some close game or something like that.
No.
I think the Browns are going to be the worst team in the NFC North. I think they have a lot of potential to be talented. They got a lot of offensive threats. They got Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham Jr., Nick Chubb. I don't think Baker Mayfield's the guy at all.
No.
They'll have a decent defense. The Browns always have a tough defense.
Yeah.
But I think Week 1 against the Ravens, I'm going to take the Ravens on a blowout win.
I'd take that as well. And I do want to see the Browns succeed. They've been bad for so long. They're just like one of those teams that has a great fan base. You want to see them succeed. However, like you said, I don't think Baker's the guy. I think I don't know if they're going to completely turn the ship around with him. They might need a new guy at the helm.
I agree.
So, Bears
I
versus...
also,
Ooh, I'm
along
sorry.
with that, is this a make or break year for Baker Mayfield?
Yes.
I think so too. If he does not perform, I think the Cleveland Browns are going to have to go back into that graveyard of quarterbacks and try and find something new, because I don't know. He threw a lot of interceptions last year. I think his touchdown ratio was 22-21 or something
really?
around that. Yeah, it was poor.
To say the least.
Poor for Baker Mayfield.
And he has, he has his targets. He's
And
also,
yeah,
they added Austin Hooper this year.
Yeah.
He's a great tight end. He'll be a red zone threat. That just adds to their offense, but...
Myles Garrett back now too. We didn't see since that incident last season. So
They've got the talent, but
they've got the talent.
week 1, still taking the Ravens.
I think it's going to be a classic Browns season.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. All right, Bears versus Lions in Detroit.
I think it's going to be a close game. I don't see this being. I think this could come down to a field goal or a touchdown. I'm going to take the Lions. Matthew Stafford, I think, is going to show up week 1, and potentially, I think that the Lions, the Vikings, and Packers are going to be competing for those top 3 spots. I don't like the Bears. Mitch Trubisky if he's starting. I don't think the Bears are going to be that solid. Their defense is okay per usual, but other than that, I just see the Lions. I think the Lions will take this one.
I've also got the Lions, no bias here included. Their offense is better than the Bears' offense. They've got weapons everywhere. They got Hawkinson, they got Marvin Jones, they got Kenny Galladay. Stafford's coming back. He was starting out great last year. I think the biggest deal breaker in this game is the Lions' offensive line. The Bears have a great defensive line. If they can get to Stafford, that'll give the Bears the edge that they probably need to beat the Lions in Detroit. However, I think that they're going to protect Stafford. They know how valuable he is. He was hurt last year. They lost 9 games in a row to end the season. I think Kenny Galladay and Hawkinson are going to have a big day. I think Stafford's going to have a big day. I think those are going to be his 2 favorite targets. And we're going to get to watch AP. We're going to get to watch DeAndre Swift and hopefully Kerryon Johnson, who's been a bit questionable. But I think we're going to get to watch a great running back room that's evolving as well.
I hope the Lions can stay healthy. I really do, because I think they have a lot of offensive talent. Let's see if that front office can do something with it.
And then the cornerbacks, they haven't had any opportunities to mesh either.
Yeah.
They went out and they signed Trufant, and then they got, from Ohio State, can't think of his name for whatever reason, Jeffrey Okudah, who was an absolute beast at Ohio State. Those guys haven't had any time to mesh. However, I think they could be a great cornerback tandem. I think they might be able to pick up right where they left off with Darius Slay, because they picked up Okudah, and Okudah looks very promising.
Young secondaries. I mean, we saw that Bills defense last season. Mm-hmm. They either perform or they don't. I think that they definitely have the potential to be a very strong defense this year, which is, I think, out of character typically for the Lions. So I think that they got a good chance to be contenders in that division this year.
Especially with Matt Patricia's scheme, this is definitely, it already was established that this is a make or break year for him. If he doesn't do well, he's getting fired along with the GM, Bob Quinn. However, they've had 3 years to build this. They've built it how they wanted. They got people out that they thought weren't going to fit the protocol. But right now is when, you put your money where your mouth is, and we get to be able to find out who they are as a defensive team.
Right. I agree.
So we'll move on to Dolphins versus Patriots.
I was just about to say, that's another big game to watch. Now, the Dolphins have not been good past couple seasons. However, the Patriots are going to be a big question mark, especially for this week 1. They got Cam Newton just signed as the quarterback. Everybody knows that. Strong defense. However, I think that their defense is a bit overrated, in my opinion. Stephon Gilmore is a great corner. He's going to do his job out there. I think that they need to get their pass rushing up a little bit. If they're able to put pressure on quarterbacks a little more, I think that they're going to be successful. My biggest viewpoint on this game is how well is Cam Newton going to mesh with Bill Belichick and the offense of the New England Patriots. I have the Pats winning week 1.
Yeah.
I don't know really what the score of that game will be, because the offense is going to be so up in the air, but I think that the New England Patriots are going to take week 1.
Obviously, Belichick's a great coach. He's been working with Brady forever. He's made wins happen out of nothing. The real question mark will be, is it him or is it Brady? I do think that Belichick...
That's a big point.
I'd take Belichick over Brady if I had to pick one to start a franchise
right
with.
Now. Right now.
If I were to take a prime Brady or Belichick, I would take Belichick over Brady to start a franchise. I need somebody for my franchise. I'd take Belichick. The Dolphins' run game and their defense will be strong enough, in my opinion. The Patriots' defensive line just isn't strong enough to stop the Dolphins' run game. I've got the Dolphins. That's going to be my upset of the week.
I'm glad you brought up that Belichick Brady talk. I think that is going to take away a lot of credibility for one of these guys, especially with everything that happened in New England. Was Tom Brady really the captain of that ship, running the show, or was Bill Belichick leading to most of that success? And I think that's not only going to answer questions about Tom Brady's career overall, but Bill Belichick's as well. How well, if he's a great coach, he's got a Super Bowl quarterback, Cam Newton.
Super Bowl losing quarterback.
Super losing, but you know what I mean. He was on the Panthers.
Yeah, he was. He was MVP. Almost led him to an undefeated season, 15-1.
Exactly.
But Brady's 43. You really, if he went downhill last year anyway, he had the same QBR as Jameis Winston, who was the quarterback of the Bucs.
He did. However, he didn't have too many targets to throw the ball to last year.
That's also true. He had Julian Edelman.
He had Antonio Brown for 2 weeks, and then he was
gone.
gone.
Threw a touchdown to him, and then Antonio Brown's out of it. But he's got Julian Edelman. That's who he has. That's who Cam has. That's who Brady had. Julian Edelman's. He's got his wear and tear going. He's, I think, 34, 35 years old.
Yep.
He's on the second end of his career.
I think another big name on the Pats offense, though, is Sony Michel. Mm-hmm. I mean, and James White, potentially. They both performed well with Brady. I think if Cam's able to, signify the option a little bit more and incorporate that into the Pats offense, which we haven't seen, I think, in ever. But I think Sony Michel could be a strong running back for them this year.
Yeah, he had a strong year last year, and he didn't even get the bulk of the carries. Really didn't start getting him until the second half of the year.
Yep.
So moving on to Chargers versus Bengals. I'll let you take the lead with this one.
You know I'm taking the Cincinnati Bengals week 1 against the Chargers. I don't think Tyrod Taylor is going to be that impressive this season. I don't think the Chargers have a whole lot to bring to the table. Taking the Bengals week 1. Like I said, Joe Burrow, see what he can do. And I'm hopeful for the Bengals this season. I think we'll win more than 2 games than last season. The Bengals can only go up, hopefully, this season. But can't get much worse.
I agree with you. They're improved on defense, but I think Austin Eckler is going to go off.
Okay.
I think he's going to go off.
I'll give you this stat. The Cincinnati Bengals were last in the division, last in the league in rushing.
Yeah, when I saw that, and I know Eckler's going to have a great year, I think he's going to have 150 yards plus. They've got a great receiving core. They've got Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, K.J. Hill out of Ohio State, downfield threat, and Findlay alum DJ Moore. I think DJ Moore is going to get a lot more
shout out to that
reps this year, I think he's going to get a lot more receptions. They've got Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor's probably the biggest question mark in that offense.
Yeah.
But I've got the Chargers that week. I was back and forth on it.
That takes some off. Thank you for at least saying that, because I feel like a lot of people are blowing off the Cincinnati Bengals this year.
Well, I was just picking who I thought was going to do less bad, honestly. I think these two teams are both going to win like a combined 6 or 7 games.
Oh, combined?
Yes.
Wow.
I think these guys are going to be both top 5
So you're
picks.
saying that this is the most unappealing game, you think, of week 1?
The Jets versus Bills might be. The Bills are going to blow them out of the water in that one. But, yeah, I think they're going to be – the Bengals are on the up and up. I think the Chargers are going down. They had a decent team last year with Phillip Rivers. I don't know if they even upgraded with Tyrod Taylor. Phillip Rivers is old. He's not what he was, but he has a much better career than Tyrod Taylor.
That's true. Yeah,
has.
I agree with that.
If Tyrod Taylor can sling it, though, I mean, he's got his weapons. He's
got targets,
to do it.
Yeah. And if that offensive line can hold up, another big question. They were good last season. Only gave 2.1 sacks.
Yeah.
Per game. So
they do have a great offensive line. I read that as well.
So let me ask you this: what do you view as your big upset this week?
I had Dolphins over the Patriots.
Dolphins over the Patriots?
Which, who knows, in a few weeks that might not even be considered an upset, but right now it is.
Your blowout then is the Bills?
The Bills and Jets, yeah.
Bills and Jets, okay. Let's go on to the another big game that I think could potentially be a blowout as well, is the Cardinals and the 49ers. I know I said that the Cardinals could be a team to watch this season. I just think the 49ers are too damn good.
Not against the Niners.
No, they're too damn good.
They're not a team to watch against them.
No, George Kittle. He's going to be an absolute stud this year. It's Jimmy G, Super Bowl contending quarterback. I think that their defense is going to be phenomenal again this season.
Kyle Shanahan's a great offensive coach.
Absolutely. I think that the 49ers win this maybe by three scores maybe.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's a blowout. Bosa's going to have a great year. He's going to be up for Defensive Player of the Year.
Oh, yeah. That D-line is scary.
Yeah.
Scary. I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of that, that's for sure.
No. And, I mean, they've got – who they got now? Kenyon Drake.
Yeah.
Kenyon Drake, I don't think he's a bad back at all. However, I just don't think that the Cardinals can pull this off. I could even consider that blowout of the week, but I think the Cardinals are better than the Jets.
Yeah, actually, the more we're talking about this now, I think that could be up there with the Bills-Jets, potentially.
Yeah, I just see the 49ers just disregarding them, no issues about it.
Yeah. Let's see, we got 2 more games to talk about.
Before the big games.
Before the big games, yep. The Steelers-Giants. Big Ben's returning this season.
Exactly.
Giants, I don't see much there, really, compared to the last season. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are gonna actually, Juju's gonna have a quarterback who's gonna be throwing to them. They're not gonna have their 4th-string quarterback.
Yeah.
The other thing too with the Pittsburgh Steelers, is when they had that injury and they had all the problems with the quarterbacks, they were winning games with their 3rd and 4th-string quarterbacks.
Mike Tomlin,
what a fantastic organization the Pittsburgh Steelers have. It hurts me to say that.
it hurts me to think
Yes,
that, bro.
it hurts. It's not an ideal scenario for me. However, they win games. I'd put them up there with like that Patriot-esque type of football team, and
Just that
they
organization.
find a way to win. Mm-hmm. And I think that they're going to be competing in the NFC North as well, no matter what.
But you're exactly right. Juju Smith-Schuster was hurt early in the year. Big Ben went down. They were on their 3rd or 4th string.
James Conner
was hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And they were still in the playoff contention until week 17.
Yeah. That's the Pittsburgh Steelers. They win football games.
They got T.J. Watt coming back. They had a ridiculous defense last year with Minkah Fitzpatrick as well. I think they're going to be right up there with the Ravens. I still give the Ravens the edge in the division, but I think I think the Steelers could win 10 games this year.
10 games. Hear that, guys? 10.
All right, last game before the games of the week, Titans versus Broncos in Denver.
I think that this is going to be the Titans' big year. I think it's a big year to watch them. I think they surprised a lot of people, especially when they beat the Ravens in the playoffs. Derrick Henry's going to be a stud this year, as long as he can stay healthy. I mean, he was battling some hamstring issues later in the season.
Missed last week.
Yeah, missed last week, but prior to that, he was injured and still running the damn ball. He was phenomenal. I don't think the Broncos bring a lot to the table.
Von Miller's out.
Von Miller's gone. I just see the Titans being big contenders this season in the AFC South.
Thing is, they've got to go through Houston.
Yeah.
And Houston's kind of that in that sense of they just kind of find a way to win games. And I mean, Deshaun Watson finds a way to win games. That man's offensive line doesn't help with anything. But back to the task at hand, I think the Titans win this game. I don't think it's going to be too big of an issue in the Mile High City. Derrick Henry's going to have a great game. Ryan Tannehill needs, in my opinion, for them to really start contending, he needs to take that step where he can start taking more responsibility.
Yeah.
Instead of Derrick Henry rushing for 40 times a game.
A.J. Brown is going to be another big aspect for them on the receiving end of things. I think he's a rookie last year, and he's got another year under the belt now, and I think
they have Corey Davis too, don't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that they have a lot of potential with giving the team some secondary trouble, but I think the run game is going to dictate how their offense plays, without a doubt. But
it runs on Derrick Henry. Yeah. One of the few teams that actually has a rush game that
I think I think the Titans really have like a traditional type style of football team. Establish the run, and maybe get the play action going and see what you can do. Do some damage to that defense.
We actually forgot one game: the Raiders versus the Panthers.
This is an interesting game. I think the Carolina Panthers. Teddy Bridgewater, when he played for the Saints last year, he didn't lose.
He was good with the Vikings. He got under the helm of Sean Payton and Drew Brees. Great duo to learn from, to watch. Like you said, he didn't lose when he went in.
He didn't lose. To be fair, the Saints, have a talented football team.
Yeah,
no question.
He can throw the ball with his eyes closed, and it's probably going to get caught.
Absolutely. But there's one thing that that fits well with the Panthers' offense: the fact that he's more of a scrambling back. He can throw the ball, but he scrambles. He gets out of the pocket, looks to create some havoc to the defense. However, I think the Raiders also bring a lot to the table, too. I think this could be, potential for a game of the week, too. I think this could be a very close game if not coming down to a field goal. I think the Raiders got a good team. I think Josh Jacobs could be a stud this season. But, Derek Carr.
D. Carr's a question mark. He was an MVP candidate a few years ago before he messed up his knee. And Who are you taking? You didn't give an answer.
I'm taking the Panthers. I'm going to
Okay.
take the Panthers week 1. Not like to anything to discredit the Raiders. I think they're going to be a solid football team this year. I just think with week 1, Teddy Bridgewater is going to want to make a statement for himself. You know, he wasn't just the guy on the Saints who was able to pick up a stacked team and win games. I think that he's got something to prove. He's playing with a chip on his shoulder this year, I believe.
I'm taking the Raiders in this.
Okay.
For the sole reason that Josh Jacobs was an absolute stud last year.
Yep.
And the Panthers gave up 143.5 rushing yards a game. I think that's going to give time for D. Carr. I think that the Raiders, like you said, it's going to be a close game.
No Luke Kuechly.
No Luke Kuechly,
Yep.
who was probably going to be their number 1 run stopper in the game if he were to be around. But I've got the Raiders. Close game, probably a 1 score. I'd take it 4 or 5 points for the Raiders.
Okay. So let's go on and talk about these 2 big games we got here to talk about.
The first one, the Cowboys versus the Rams.
You go on. You like the Cowboys.
I pled my case about the Cowboys.
You go on.
I'm not the biggest fan of the Cowboys, but I pled my case. They've got an explosive offense. They've got a defense that was top 10 in just about every statistic you can have defensively last year. Their offense even improved with CeeDee Lamb. They retained their offensive line. I think it'd be kind of ridiculous to bet against the Cowboys.
Kind of ridiculous to bet against the Cowboys?
Against almost anybody.
Okay,
Anybody. Barring injuries, outside of the Chiefs and Ravens, I would probably take the Cowboys. And Niners. I'll say the 49ers as well. I'd take the Cowboys against the Seahawks if they played.
Really?
Yes.
No, that's just ridiculous.
Oh, my gosh.
As of right now, I'm not even going to get into that. I can't even get into that right now. The Cowboys, I'm not sold on Dak Prescott. I've already said that. Make or break year for him. On the contrast to what we just talked about with the Patriots and the Steelers, the Cowboys do exactly the opposite of that. I agree. They by all means should win games this season. Great offensive line. Great running back. They got targets to throw to. One of the best offensive lines, if not the best offensive line in the game. And yet, after all of that, I am still taking the Los Angeles Rams to win this game.
I just can't imagine the Rams winning this game. They improved defensively. They lost TG3.
Yeah.
Jared Goff is still their quarterback. They just signed Jalen Ramsey to a massive contract. They're about to be in cap hell for the next few years because of that.
They've been on the come the past couple seasons. They had a strong season last year. I think I'm going to expect the same from the Rams again this season. And I think that the Cowboys, per usual, will play very well against teams that are just above, if not below 500, and struggle against teams that are actually contenders. And that's why, back to your Seahawk prediction, I think the Seahawks would take the Cowboys in a game. I'm excited to see that. Yes.
All right. All right, we'll move on.
No comment? No.
I mean, you pleaded your case. I can't argue. They always find ways to lose games. I'm a Lions fan. I've been there. Moving on to Tom Brady and the Bucs taking on Drew Brees and the Saints.
Game of the week.
It's got to be.
Right there. Game of the week. You see those two guys. That's why, right there. I wanted to see a Tom Brady versus Drew Brees Super Bowl when the Rams absolutely decided to kill the receiver on that pass interference call.
Right.
Which would have led to us seeing a Tom Brady-Drew Brees Super Bowl. However, I think what you mentioned earlier about the Bucs defense, I think a lot of people are overlooking their defense. Yeah, they struggled. They gave a lot of points last season. My biggest concern with the defense is the fact that they only gave up 73.8 rushing yards a game last season. And they're going up against a team right now who has Alvin Kamara and Latavius Murray as their running backs, who are two big factors on their offensive attack. However, the Saints have Michael Thomas, Drew Brees. They got a big name players, and they were very good last year. These guys are both aging. We're not going to see this matchup much longer. So I think this is a one-to-watch game of the week. And against my better judgment, I want to see what the Bucs bring to the table this season. I think they're exciting. Rob Gronkowski is going to be fun to watch this year, potentially. That Brady-Gronk matchup again, but I'm going on a limb and saying that they are going to beat the Saints week 1 and establish their dominance in this league.
I think you're drinking the freaking Kool-Aid, man. My gosh, they're going out there. It just looks good on the eyes. Leonard Fournette, he has injury problems. They got Rojo. I like Rojo. I do like Ronald Jones. But they got Gronk. Gronk hasn't played in a few years. He's lost weight. Maybe that's a good thing for him.
Maybe
he's always been injury prone.
True.
See what happens with that. Brady's coming off of a poor season. I get they didn't have a great offense in New England. However, he's 43 years old. Poor season. It's never been done that someone bounces back from 42 to 43. Maybe
right.
He'll be able to do it. Drew Brees seems to be drinking out of the fountain of youth. That man's still going off.
Breaking records last year.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah,
Michael Thomas is breaking records. Alvin Kamara is an absolute dual threat that can line up in the slot, line up in the backfield, whatever. I think the Saints are just too much for the Bucs to handle. Maybe later down the road, maybe once the Bucs mesh more, because again, they haven't played any games together yet.
Right.
Maybe when the Bucs toast it, I would take the Bucs, but for now, I'm taking the Saints. I can't bet against my boy Drew Brees, my boy Alvin Kamara. I can't bet against them.
No comment. I think that's a good pick. I agree with you. I think. What do you think the Bucs record is going to be this year, just off the bat?
I'd like to say 500, but I can't pull myself to do it. I'll say 9-7.
9-7.
Yeah.
You know, that's not bad at all. No, I'd take that. I think there's so many question marks. I think this first game, especially going up against the Saints, is going to test the Bucs' character. What kind of team are they going to be this year?
Exactly.
For the most part, other than a couple other than Tom Brady and Mike Evans a little bit, I think they're a relatively young football team. I think they're hungry and they want to win games. I think that this is their chance to win games. I think that's why Mike Evans and I think Godwin are going to want to be big factors for this team this year, and they're going to want to perform. But, taking the Saints there, I think that's a smart pick.
I can't bet against my Saints. The Bucs were competitive in a lot of games last year, and Jameis Winston threw 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. Yep. But he also threw for, like I said, 5,100 yards. That's only been done 8 times by a quarterback. He did have kind of a ridiculous year, but we'll see what happens with Drew Brees. He obviously doesn't have the gunslinging arm that he used to, but he can probably throw less than 30 interceptions, so we'll see how that goes.
I would put a lot of money on Tom Brady throwing less than 30 interceptions this year.
If he's throwing 20, he's going to be taken out,
yeah.
man. So moving on to tonight's game.
Tonight, the NFL is tonight, 8:15.
Yeah, Texans
I'm
and
excited.
Chiefs. I am as well.
Who do you got, man?
Chiefs. I can't bet against my boy Pat Mahomes. What I just said, I got him for MVP. The Chiefs are definitely the team to beat this year. The Texans, they lost D-Hop. They added David Johnson. I think David Johnson is a thing of the past ever since his knee injury. He's not been the same since his knee injury. Hard to bounce back from a knee injury. But I think Deshaun Watson will keep this a competitive for 3 quarters. However, I think in the 4th quarter, Pat Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Sammy Watkins, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think that is just too much for just about any team to handle.
Yeah. I mean, the Chiefs' offense is stacked. I'll also agree. I think the Chiefs could blow this game out. I think this is going to be a big test to Deshaun Watson this season. He just lost D-Hop. He doesn't have many options to throw to now. He is a scrambling quarterback. He reads defenses well, but he also he's interception prone. Patrick Mahomes this season, coming off of a very questionable Super Bowl MVP, in my opinion.
I'd agree.
I think Damian Williams deserved that title in that game. However, this could be his year to win MVP. I believe that Patrick Mahomes is a very talented quarterback. He's got a lot of talent around him. Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, like you said, the Chiefs are going to be tough to compete with this year. I agree.
Going week in and week out, it'd be hard to pick anyone against them.
With Andy Reid at the helm too.
Andy Reid is an offensive guru.
Yeah, they got a lot of weapons and a lot to deal with.
Yeah, and their defense isn't bad either.
No, not at all. They got a great D-line. They put pressure. Their secondary is iffy.
Outside of Tyrann Mathieu.
Yeah.
That man's a ball hawk. But yeah, you said you're taking the Chiefs, correct?
Yeah, Chiefs. Big win over the Texans.
All right. That is all that we have for you. Thank you for joining us. From Kelvin and myself, we wish you a happy week 1. We'll see you next week.
UFTV is your university and community TV station.